Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Iran Online. My name is Jamila Ismail. Today our guest is from the Flickinger Legal Group. His name is RussellFlickinger. He is a true friend of the Somali community. Sports is where Mr. Flickinger's commitment to this community shines the most. For the past 10 years, the Flickinger Group sponsored the Somali Youth Soccer Tournament in Ohio. It's not an understatement to say Ohio hosts the largest soccer team in North America for the Somali community. Mr. Flickinger, welcome.
Thank you.
We all know the lawyer, the philanthropist and all. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us something we don't know.
My name's Russ Flickinger. I've been an attorney for 30 years. I've lived mostly in central Ohio. Probably the biggest thing that most people don't know about me is my one true passion is motorcycling. I've ridden in every state, most of Canada, a little bit of Europe, and my goal is one day to motorcycle around the world.
So how did you meet the Somali community? First place?
About 15 years ago, a gentleman came into my office from Somalia, and he had been in an accident, and we started talking, and I will be perfectly honest, 15 years ago I had never heard of Somalia, had no idea where it was, didn't know anything about it. He came in and we represented him, and I guess we did a good job because he sent a couple people over and they sent a couple people, and then we started meeting more and more people in the community, and then we met people that work with the Somali Community Center and some of the doctors and some of the chiropractors, and just became bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger to where we decided that, well, we're making money off of a community, we need to give back, and that's when we started doing all of the different sponsorships that we have.
So when did you start helping the soccer?
Soccer was probably about 10 years ago. A couple of our interpreters were very big with the Columbus Stars, which was the local Somali team, and they asked us for just a simple donation to begin with, which was jerseys, which is no problem, and we did that, and then they invited me to come to the tournaments, and the first tournament I can remember they brought me to, or actually the first game, it was a game where it was in the Latino League, and so it was a Somali team and the Latino team. And so I've got Spanish and Somali. I'm the only white guy speaking English here, and I can't understand anything, and as you know how it gets very, very vocal at soccer matches. And I really thoroughly enjoyed that, and then we started getting more and more involved and started doing the sponsorships, and this year we actually bought jerseys for 4 teams and sponsored the tournaments, 2 tournaments, and it's just kind of built and built and built, and we really enjoy it.
So what compelled you to help and stick with it year in, year out? You said it has been over 10 years.
You know, one of the biggest things is the friends that I've made at the tournaments. 10 years is a long period of time, but it's even longer when you begin to think that I might have had that 14-year-old kid that was there and now he's 24 years old, or that 21-year-old who's now 31, and you just see the progression in the age, and also the older people, the ones from the Olympic teams, the people, the dignitaries that come in, and every year they make a special effort to come up and shake my hand and say thank you, and it really means a lot to us that they really appreciate what we do.
So where is Somali Pride? I seen your son wearing a jersey or a T-shirt for it.
Well, let me tell you how I give this speech every year at Somali Can when we give out scholarships for Somali students in high school that are going to college. And so I'll give you my speech, and I'll try not to make it too long. But as I said, my one true passion is motorcycling.
Okay.
And back in I think it was 2009, 2010, I was doing a cross-country motorcycle ride that left from Key West, Florida, and ended in Homer, Alaska. It was about 8,000 miles.
And you rode that 8,000 miles?
There were 450 of us that did this.
Okay.
And you had to sleep outside with your motorcycle.
Okay.
You had to follow a certain map that they had. You had to go to checkpoints, and the first person that ended up in Homer, Alaska was supposed to get $500,000.
Okay.
I was not the first person to end up there.
Okay.
But I was somewhere in Arkansas, and I was out in the middle of nowhere, and I was at a gas station, and the only guy there was some little old guy working the register, and I looked down at my motorcycle, and my rear wheel was actually coming off of the bike. The axle that holds it on had worked its way almost completely out. There's a thunderstorm coming in the distance, and you could tell there was hail and everything else coming, and like I said, I'm in the middle of nowhere, there's nothing else around, and this little guy walked up to me and he said, "Do you have a problem?" And I go, "Well, I'm not real mechanical, but yeah, I have a real big problem." And he goes, "Well, why don't you just take that bike and just wheel it over here for me?" And he had a little old, what we used to call a Quonset hut, a little metal building. It was kind of covered with leaves and debris, and you could hardly even see it. And he opened up the door, and we took it in there, and him and another gentleman spent probably 2 hours wedging the wheel to where we were able to get the axle back on and get it all ready to go and to get me fixed up. And you could tell these individuals really didn't have any money. And so as we were getting ready to leave, I went and I handed the guy some money, and I said, "I really want to appreciate it. I want to thank you."
So you fixed it in 2 hours?
Took good care of it. And he looked at me, and without batting an eye, he said, "Pass it on." And so I'm thinking, okay, what he basically wants me to do is to do something gratuitous for someone else without expecting anything in return, and to pass on what he's just done for me. So I said thank you, and I proceeded on my way. Like I said, that was Arkansas, so I had a long way to go till I got to Homer. And during that time period, I was trying to think, what can I do? How can I pass this on? How can I make it somewhat meaningful? Because when I'm riding a motorcycle, I look at it as kind of a Zen thing. I get focused on what I'm doing, and I try to relate it all to life. After I got back to Columbus, we were sitting down in probate court. We had a young Somali truck driver who was killed in Oklahoma. His family lived in the refugee camps over in Kenya. His wife, and I think there were 4 children. And we were in probate court trying to figure out how we could get the money from the settlement to her in the refugee camp. And there was a individual from some of the local businesses that was helping me out, and we started chit-chatting and talking back and forth. And he was able to tell me how many Somali students were at Ohio State, how many were in the graduate programs, how many were at University of Dayton, how many were at Cincinnati, and I asked him, "How do you know?" Wow,
Did he work for the school system?
No, he goes, "We are very, very into education, and as a community, we keep very close ties to the kids that are going to school." And he said, "I can tell you how many people are going here, here, and there." And so it made me think, okay, maybe that's a way I can pass it on. So at that point, I went and formed a nonprofit called Somali Pride. And primarily what Somali Pride does is we give out scholarship money to kids from Somali descent that are graduating. And we do it normally at the Somali Can ceremony that they have at the Hilton every year. This year I think it's June 26th, I believe. And students will be able to come out, bring their grade point averages, and we're going to give scholarships to kids based on grade point, but we're also going to just pull names out of a hat so that the kids show up, that even if you don't have a great grade point, you're going to college, you may end up with a $500 scholarship just by showing up.
So it was founded by you. Are you the only contributor to the scholarship, or?
We are pretty much, we do about 99% of the contributions. It's difficult to go out and get a lot of people to contribute in the community.
Okay.
And so we've pretty much just kept it in-house based on how well we do is how well we're able to do with the community and how we can benefit them.
So you have been dealing with the Somali community over 10 years. Do you usually get feedbacks, either good or bad, from the community leaders?
We get a lot of feedback, a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people to begin with are a little questionable, wanting to know, what it is I'm doing and why I'm doing it and what I want in return.
Your friends might ask you that.
Yes, and so we get it from both sides. We get it from people that I know that are unfamiliar with the community, and I think because they're unfamiliar, they're a little scared because people that are different from you tend to fend off from, and you tend to be a little wary of. So I try to educate my friends and try to educate my family and explain to them, exactly the nuances of dealing with people from different cultures. But I also get it from the Somali people because they kind of, you know, what is this guy doing? Why is he helping us? We don't really understand it. But the people that I've met and the people that I've become really good friends with, they understand that we're just basically trying to give back to the community. I think everybody kind of has something that they want to do in life, and because we have been successful representing so many Somali people, that we just want to give back to the community. And we really enjoy it. Just like my son gave a speech the other night at the soccer tournament and explained that when he graduated from high school, he had friends over at the house and they were wondering why he had so many Somali people at the house, and he didn't really think about it because these people have been around him all his life, and it was second nature. But they were like, well, where are all these people here? And they were all watching a soccer game, of course, in the house.
So how did it impact you personally? We have been the community with the soccer, the scholarships, and associating with them on a daily basis.
Well, it helps fulfill why I became an attorney. What people don't realize, there's a lot of different lawyers doing a lot of different jobs. People usually attribute us personal injury attorneys.
So you are a bodily injury lawyer.
We do all bodily injury, personal injury. We represent people who have been injured in automobile accidents, and you know, we get bad names for ourselves. People call you ambulance chasers. People think that all you are out for money, that's all you're trying to do. And it really makes me laugh because all we want to do is help people who can't help themselves. My son just graduated from law school 2 years ago, and he's been working with me ever since.
So he works with you at the firm?
Yes. And when he first graduated, I gave him a case, very, very small case for a lady who was in an accident, young mother. She had a few medical bills from a chiropractor. The insurance company refused to pay her bills because she took time off from treating to have the baby, and I gave him the case, and he represented her, and he went to mediation, he settled it, and she got $2,500, which isn't a lot of money, but for her it was a tremendous amount of money. And she sent us a card. Well, she sent him a card, and in that card, which I have framed now on his wall, that
was his first case.
Yes, she thanked him immensely how much he had done for her, and it was just the sweetest card. In fact, I tell people about it, I show people it, and I framed it for them, and I go in and look at it myself every once in a while when I'm having a bad day, because that's why we do what we do. We don't do this for the money. We could do a lot of other things, but it really makes you feel good when you're able to affect someone's life. And I probably can state maybe 10 cases I've had over my entire career where I can honestly say that I helped someone out. I had a young gentleman years ago that was in one of those graduation day terrible accidents where he was left a quadriplegic for life because they all negligence of themselves, and we've been able to make a difference where that family is able to be taken care of. That family in Kenya, it's our hope and desire that the money that she was given will be sufficient for her to be able to bring herself and the children to the United States. And once in the United States, there's money here for the children in separate funds that would.
So have you ever contacted them since then, the family, the truck driver?
We have not, because we were almost unable to get a hold of her to begin with. It was only through a person to a person to a person that we were able to get in touch with her and then be able to get sufficient identification for her to get the money. It almost came down to where I was going to have to fly there with the check in hand to ensure that it got to the proper person, because we were really scared. We had so many people that wanted to help, but we don't know if they really want to help or they really want to take her money. So we were finally able to secure and make sure that the funds ended up in a bank in her name.
My last question, since you deal with a lot of players, the coaches, what would be the one advice you would give to the players and the coaches too?
Well, I gave this advice to the coaches during the one speech that I gave, and basically it is, remember why you're doing what you do. You are an influence on the younger people. So as a coach, you have a responsibility, and I call it, and I use a generic term as far as act like a man, but when I mean act like a man, I mean act like the type of person you want everyone else to look up to you as, whether it's a male or a female. And remember that your actions have consequences. If you yell and scream and act like an idiot out there in the field, that 12-year-old kid's going to think it's okay to do. And as far as with the teammates, what I told them at the last tournament, enjoy what you're doing right now, because what's going to happen is you're going to turn around and you're going to look in the mirror like I do and think, who's that old guy looking back at me? And you're going to have missed 30 years of having fun and playing soccer and doing the things you really should do. So grab life, have fun, enjoy yourself, and work hard is about the best thing I can tell them to do.
Thank you so much for
you're
joining us, and we really appreciate your help. That will be it for us. My name is Jamila, and this is Hiran Online. Thank you.